Wait. Should be working now. I don't know why, but...
Should be working now.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. Oh, all
Yeah,
good
yeah, yeah,
apparently.
it's working. All right. I don't know what that was. It looks like the PS5 just automatically muted all the audio being put in straight away for whatever reason.
Yeah,
But
Josh said it was you as well. That was a bit odd, but thanks, Josh, for letting us know about that because we could have rambled on for an hour and nobody heard anything. So
all right, so
thank you for that.
welcome back again to the stream, lads. Hope you enjoyed the stream so far. Wait, was that the case?
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't have eyes, obviously the qualifying started off dry, and then the rain has come down, and yeah, you probably missed everything we've said,
Yeah,
but yeah,
there
but
wasn't a single word heard on the stream so far. I have no idea why. It just generally muted everything. But all right, then let's do the intro again. Hello and welcome, guys, to PSGL F7. Very sorry for the inconvenience. My name is Felix. I'm back for commentary after a break of like a year. I'm here with Jake once again, and I'm very sorry to have been streaming for now 10 minutes without saying a single word.
not the first time this has happened in F7. I had no voice the other week and basically streamed the race without any commentary, but this time it wasn't. This time it was pure accidental. So, but yeah, you can see the standings in qualifying. It's super close. We did touch on that. I'm on board with Smalley, who, for anyone who is new to viewing F7, is leading the championship by over 40 points, which is quite a big margin, particularly as the PSGL PSGL points system rather is a lot more bunched up than the real life system. So in that sense, Smalley has a huge advantage, and with about I think 6 races to go, including this one. It's going to be pretty tough to close him down unless he has a bad race and some of the ones behind him have a really good one. So, yeah, going to be tough, but he's 8th in qualifying today, which isn't a huge surprise because I've mentioned he doesn't always qualify that well, but the race could be very different. He's out there on intermediates, pounding round, so maybe there is a bit of rain for the race. Either that or some of these drivers just wants a bit more airtime.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll just wait for the race. But now I'm actually quite happy that those guys didn't retire because obviously now we can actually be heard. Otherwise, you'd be watching a very boring race in a couple of minutes' time. But yeah, well, we're just sitting here. We can just talk about what we think will happen in the race. I mean, obviously you were nice enough, you were kind enough to send me your notes you've had for the race, where you've prepared everything, and I was actually very impressed by that, how you prepare for the races, and with all the strategy and stuff. I was impressed.
Yeah, I got given some tips on that the other week, actually, because some of the tyre data I had was a little bit outdated. So I've been advised since then that basically you can do soft to medium or medium to soft at most tracks, unless there's a few exceptions. But yeah, the tyre wear doesn't actually look that bad around here anyway. So yeah, if it's dry, which is a big if, considering what's happening right now, if it's dry, then yeah, there should be a simple enough one-stopper, obviously damage permitting. I was having a look at the standings actually because the 2 nearest challengers to Smalley, just to add to Smalley's dominance, one of them in Leroy, who won last week, isn't actually here tonight, so he can't close in on him. And the other one is Raggy, who has qualified P13. And he's had the oddest season I think I've ever come across. He didn't score a single point in the first 4 races. He didn't attend the first one, but then he DNF'd from 2 and didn't score. Then he won 3 in a row. Then he got a 3rd, and now he's back to not scoring again. So, I don't know, Raggy's 2nd in the championship, but it's a bit all or nothing with him this season so far. If he could apply some consistency to his results, then maybe he could be the one that challenges.
Well, in Formula One in general, it's like most is actually about consistency. I mean, you can see even in real life, with the man sitting second in the championship, or third, second or third.
George Russell
George
is second
Russell,
in the
he's
championship.
second,
Yeah.
yeah, and he hasn't had that great results so far, but he's been consistent. And Max Verstappen had the quicker car over the first 3 weekends, but he retired from 2 of those 3 races, won the other one, and Russell is still ahead of him just because Russell was just consistent. The Mercedes doesn't give up after 50 laps, and that's how you end up in P2 then at the minute. And if you're incredibly quick, it won't give you any championships. You need consistency to it as well. But here you've got your qualifying results then, a pretty close qualifying and not too exciting one. Obviously it would have been exciting if we knew that there was rain coming, but obviously we didn't know. So yeah, for us it was a bit boring. But luckily we've got the sound problems fixed.
Yeah, it was a really, it was very much a. I think you really only had one lap to get it done in qualifying, which is why you've got some drivers that are over a second away from the pole time, which is a bit rare around here because you wouldn't normally expect that. Appenvet qualified in 16th in the AlphaTauri. He qualified on mediums, which I'm going to hazard a guess he didn't look at the weather, and then got very much caught out when it came down. But yeah, to put that into context as well about consistency being key, Smalley, who leads the championship on 102 points, he has had only one race in 9 this season where he has finished lower than 4th. That is quite some consistency, and that's why he's got such a big lead.
Yeah, well, it's just not about pace all too much. Obviously, you need to be at least somehow quick, but you don't have to be the quickest driver on the grid if you want to win championships. I remember a season, I don't know which league it was, that I raced in. I think it was actually PSGL, where I was far away from being the quickest. There were at least 2 or 3 guys that were definitely quicker than me. But I just tried to keep it clean, and in the end, I think I've scored a podium in every single race I've been in, except from 1 or 2. And in the end, that got me P2 in the championship, even though I was probably half a second slower a lap than the championship winner, and probably a couple of tenths slower a lap than the guy behind me in third. But that's just the thing about consistency. So yeah, that's the important thing. The important thing for us now is to know if there's going to be rain, because it's looking quite cloudy.
Yeah, I was going to mention that it doesn't look like rain's completely off the menu yet for this race weekend, because yeah, the skies do look a little bit threatening, and obviously the top 10 are locked in on the soft tyres, and there is a bit of variance when you go outside the top 10. In fact, the majority of those outside the top 10 are opting to start on the mediums, but that's always a tough one to call when you choose your starting tyre if you know there's going to be rain later on, because you can't really predict when that rain's going to come, and obviously, if you then start on the softs and the rain takes like 20 laps to come down, then you're kind of forced into a pit stop, and then you're really out of the game. So it's pretty much guesswork if there is going to be rain in the race, and we'll see who calls it right. But yeah, the top 10 locked in, Mosey on pole position, and he'll be looking for a good race because the qualifying paces have always been there, but he only has 21 points to his name this season and the best result of 5th, which for a driver of his pace just isn't really good enough. I think he'll be the first to admit that. So, he's on pole position, but it's now about translating it over 36 laps, which has been where sometimes things haven't gone too well.
Yeah, well, it's going to be 18 cars heading down into that turn 1. It's a very short run, at least for the leaders, into the first corner. So hopefully everything will be fine into turn 1. But I think there's quite a good chance for a safety car, but we'll have to wait and see for that. Just another thing I want to mention, I'm very looking forward to next year's game or this year's game, when the tire rule is not there anymore for the top 10, because then we'll see everyone on the softest tire compound go for a pole position. But now we need to prepare ourselves for lights out here in Brazil, and I think we are about to have the 5 red lights. And it's go here in Brazil. It looks to be a good start from the LP. The Alfa Romeo has to defend himself. Coming into turn 1, he's got the outside line. LP down the inside, and he takes the lead, but he's now got the outside line for turn 2. Turns into the inside, and for turn 3 once again. They're still side by side, and now it's going to be a drag race down into turn 4 then. Still side by side. Baz is right alongside him, going side by side into turn 4 as well. Double left-hander. He's got the inside line, but there was a slight touch, and now he has to back out of there. And then we can see Alberto was actually attacking the Aston Martin of Harman, and he's going down the inside into that long double right-hander up the hill, and he's got the position from the Aston Martin. Not quite. Yes, he has. Now he is up 1 position. Good move by Alberto.
Yeah, a few drivers having issues towards the back. Looks like Raggy, Zach, and Ski One have all had issues at the back. Shame for Raggy, of course, who we've mentioned is still in contention for a championship. But that was a really clean getaway from the front guys and some good battling side by side between Mosey and Bramer, and they kept it clean. And it is as you were, but there is a few changes in position further down, and it's Josh who's had a really bad start, down from 3rd to 6th on the opening lap.
Yeah, we can see that Apenvet. Oh, sorry. Harman goes down the inside into turn 1, trying to make a move on the Haas, but he backs out. He was just that little bit too far away coming into the first corner, and he stays behind, and that might give Wrench a chance now, actually. Maybe in the slipstream, but no, he stays behind, a bit too far away. Apenvet, is he pronounced like that? I'm not quite sure. He's gained 5 positions, and there was Baz outside the white lines. He was off the track, and he's just lost 2 positions within 2 corners. Not an ideal second lap for him.
And we know how effective the DRS train is now, so Alberto will be absolutely chomping at the bit to make sure he's within a second of Mosey. Otherwise, Mosey could really start to pull that advantage away now that he's lost the car that was immediately behind him. So, mistake from Baz, and Mosey will try and keep that 1 second clear. He's just over it at the moment, and that would mean that the Haas would come under a lot of pressure, and you can see just how close Harman is to the back of him as well.
Yeah, he sits now in the slipstream and probably will have a chance of passing him on the main straight. Yes, he pulls to the outside, and that move should be done even before the braking zone. And yes, it is. The Haas stays behind as well. Doesn't try to put up a fight. Oh, but then he makes a mistake, and Hammond has lost 1 place again. He might lose 2 as well. Baz is right behind him, and then Wrench right behind Baz as well. It's a big scrubble here down into turn 4, and Harman tries to go down the inside. Very late dive. He pushes the Haas of Alberto wide, and Alberto drops down into 6th. Wrench goes through. Nice move from him as well, and that is him up 2 places. And Alberto is the big loser out of all those 3 guys in that situation. Poor lad, he didn't have anything to do with it. I think that was a very aggressive and late lunge from Harman there into turn 4, and I think he just completely pushed Alberto wide, who had nothing to do with that, really.
Yeah, absolutely musical chairs going on between these guys behind the race leader, and neither of them really got any good out of that move being made. They both dropped positions overall, and Wrench really was a big gainer, just took advantage of that. Bramer back up into 2nd now, but you see the effect that has already. Mosey nearly got a 2-second lead out front, and he can now control things while these guys battling behind as Wrench now takes P2 from Bramer, and this is what I was saying. These lot now going to get focused into a battle. Mosey can just drive away.
Yeah, in the meantime, Smalley has passed Alberto now, who is now down into 7th, and Alberto seems to be under threat from Voigt behind him. The Ferrari now tries to dive down the inside into turn 4. He's still alongside through turn 5. Then it's a right-hander coming up, so it's the outside line for the Ferrari. That's going to be tough. He goes a bit wide, and yes, Alberto defends himself. Maybe, but no, the Ferrari dives down the inside and completely rips his front wing off. That was way too aggressive from the Ferrari driver, and that is his race over for now. He's definitely out of that fight. For the next couple of laps, he'll have to make a pit stop, and that was just way too aggressive. I think he was just being a bit too greedy there. He wanted that position, but there was just no room whatsoever.
It broke far too late. He actually went into the back of Smalley in front, and I wonder if Smalley might have some rear end. Hopefully not, because he was very much an innocent bystander in all that. But Boyd Beam, I believe it's his PSGL debut. He's one of the new reserves that got added to F7. Maybe a bit too eager to impress there, and just got it all wrong under braking. But he is the one who's mainly lost out. I'm just hoping that Smalley hasn't collected any rear wing damage as a result.
Yeah, that's the question I wanted to ask. With the damage, how is the damage setting?
Yeah, it is simulation damage, I believe. So there is the potential that maybe some rear or floor damage on the McLaren. But I would say, based on the pace I'm seeing from him since then, that I think he's okay, which is really the good news that we wanted.
And
But,
the rate
yeah.
is on 4, I reckon. Oh, there's a yellow flag. Alberto has spun, I think. Yes, Alberto has spun round, and his race has gone from bad to worse. Now he's dropped down into P13. Yeah, it's just has not gone his way after quite a good start. He's now quite far outside the point. But yeah, so you can get side pod and floor damage and rear wing damage, and on full rate or reduced?
Might be reduced. I'm not.
Right.
I'm just actually double checking that now because I'm not.
Okay, but
I'm
the
pretty
important
sure
thing
it's-
for me is that you can get it. That's the information I need. All right, thank you. Because I wasn't sure about that. But that's good to know, obviously, because then not only the driver who loses his front wing is affected, but also the driver who gets hit might take away some damage here and there.
There's
But
been a change in position as well, I believe, because I think Bremer's just lost out to Harman as well. So Aston Martin up to third and Bremer back down to fourth.
oh yeah, that I actually caught that on the stream, but I was just asking that question. I wanted to get that through before more action comes out there, and I just don't get the information I need. But the field is still very close. It's basically a DRS train from P2 down all the way down into P12, and Mosey is just running away with it, doing a solid job so far, and he's just doing everything he needs to do. We can see Sick Boy is sitting in the slipstream of Architect. Maybe he can go for a move down into turn 4 if he gets a good exit here. Slightly loses the rear end, but he is close, and he is closing in massively. Now all the way down into turn 4. Will he go for a lunge down the inside? The Mercedes driver alongside the Alfa Romeo driver. But Architect breaks a bit later, but that sacrifices exit side by side now going through turn 5. Up the hill then, and Architect gives up on that position. Smart play there by Sick Boy, not diving in too late, not braking too late, and then getting the good exit out of turn 5 then to make the move up the hill, and that is the Mercedes up into P7.
Yeah, apologies for potentially a bit of misinformation from me. Actually, the car damage rate is standard, so I'm not too sure what that means for rear wing and floor damage. But either way, I think Smalley's absolutely okay at the moment, because if anything, the gap's been created behind him with the fighting pair of Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo. So Smalley's right in the back of this group now that's kind of built up for second place. Still, Mosey has that 2-second lead in front, and he'll just be thinking right now that he just doesn't want a safety car, because he's worked hard to build up this margin, and it could easily be lost if we get a safety car. And that was a really poor exit from Harman out of the first few corners, and I thought he was going to come under pressure there from Bremer, but that was some really good straight line speed from Harman. I know he had DRS as well, but he just like he pulled clear of the Alpine on exit.
Yeah, well, in reality, obviously the slipstream would be even better for Bremer behind him, because he's then got the double slipstream, and but that didn't seem to be the effect there on that straight at least. But it's still very close there, and the gap between Sick Boy and Smalley is just not coming down enough for the Mercedes driver to be in the DRS, so he can't quite pull away from Architect just yet. I mean, he's gained the position, but it's not easy to defend if you haven't got any DRS or slipstream at all, and he just can't find a way into that DRS window, as Josh is trying to find a way past Bremer now, and he's going for the outside into turn 1. That's the long way around, and they're still side by side now. Turn 2 turns into the inside line for him, slightly pushes him out wide, but he gives him enough room on the outside. Great racing between those two, and it looks like Josh has just got the upper hand. Might he have to defend down into turn 4 now? No, he doesn't, and he gets the spot. Very good racing from those two.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. I was flicking on board between the pair of them, and they gave each other just enough racing room to make sure that there was no contact there. Oh, thought Bramer was thinking of a look back up the inside there, but that door quickly closed. Nice stuff from Josh, making up for that slightly poor start he had, maybe a bit too conservative, but he's making his way back up now, up to fourth, and just beginning to space out slightly between Wrench and Harmon. He needs to be just a little bit careful of that. He's going to become under pressure if Wrench pulls away. Lap 9, we're probably still a few laps away from thinking about pit stops yet, but certainly these drivers in this group at least will be thinking of doing an undercut because there's potentially a lot of positions to be gained here if you get the strategy right.
You called it. Harmon is the first one to enter the pit lane, and this could be a strategic masterpiece, or he's just thrown everything out the window. It really depends. Pit stop seems to be quite solid, doesn't have to change front wing or anything, and it depends now. Does he come out in clean air? It looks like he does. Yeah, he's behind the Ferrari, quite far behind the Ferrari actually, so he should be able to push now as hard as he wants to. For this lap at least. And the question is, do the others react immediately now, or do they just think, I'll stick it out for the better tyres towards the end? Obviously, Harmon has now fitted the medium tyres, and he is willing to go to the end. But obviously those tyres won't feel great at the end, so it depends on what the others are willing to do. Smalley maybe sees his chance of overcutting everyone there. If his tyres are still in good shape, he might try and hang it out there, but we'll have to wait and see now, as everyone will pass the pit lane now.
Yeah, anyone thinking of responding to that pit stop? No, not a single one of them, so it was quite an early call from Harmon, and yeah, he'll be struggling at those tyres in the end, and one good thing now for these guys that are still in that train is that since Harmon's pitted, they haven't really battled again, so they can get their heads down and put in some decent laps, while of course getting the effect of DRS off the back of Wrench. So they might still be doing pretty good laps, and that might reduce the advantage Harmon has when these guys eventually come into the pits. I did think that was a very early stop, and clearly the others agree, because not a single one of them has opted to respond to it.
Yeah, well, that was basically just the commentators, because you just said it's a bit early to think about pit stops, and right in that second, in just that very moment, Harmon dives into the pit lane for the undercar, and he's now starting to close up to the Ferrari or Ski1 ahead of him. So maybe that will, cause some trouble for him as well, because he will sit in the dirty air if he hits or if he comes up to that Ferrari at the wrong place on the track, obviously. And I just feel like everyone's really confident or happy with the position they're in at the minute. Everyone just sitting in the slipstream, having their DRS and, pulling each other along. And that should really help those guys to stay ahead of Harmon, who's now obviously got the tyre advantage for a couple of laps. But at the end, those guys will have the fresher and quicker tyres, as Harmon sets the fastest lap of the race.
He does indeed. I'm just wondering as well how quicker that is than the times everyone was doing earlier. It's not. It's actually less than a tenth quicker than Mosey's quickest lap time. So it's not. I would say it's massive gains at the moment, as we've got her 16 rod going down the outside of Bo, coming through the middle part of a lap, and just not enough room there, but he's kept his foot in it. The two medium tyre runners who have actually found themselves in quite good shape here. They probably don't need to really be doing this for their own races, but Bo has held on to the place for now. And still looking at Mercedes for a way through, but he might have to just concede for now. I was just literally going to mention that those two guys on the medium tyres that are very much with this sort of second group of cars, they're not in bad shape here, because they will have the tyre advantage later on, and I'll be interested to see what kind of gains they can make later on in the race.
Yeah, we can see Smalley has entered the pit lane, and so has Architect. So those guys have decided to go for their stops now. I'm curious to see where Smalley comes out now in comparison to Harmon. Harmon is coming along the start-finish straight now. At the same time, he just flies past the Ferrari, and he's comfortably ahead of Smalley. So I really think he's going to jump that entire group of cars he was behind. And if you take a look at that gap in between him and Smalley, he might even be able to challenge for P1 if Mosey decides to stay out for a couple more laps.
Absolutely, Mosey might have to be a bit careful about this. He may not be in front of Harmon when he makes his pit stop, so that could be the first headache the Alfa Romeo driver has all race. I was mentioning to media to your Tyron as they have swapped positions now. Her 16 rod has passed Bo, but one thing I would say about their battle is it looks like it's dropped them away from the soft tyre runners again. So Mosey does pit, but I wonder if those medium tyre runners are going to regret that battle later on because they don't really want to be losing too much time.
Yeah, Wrench in the pits as well. Josh takes the lead in the meantime ahead of Bremer, who's still out, and Apenbet, who is still out on the track as well. I'm curious to see, where does the Alfa Romeo of Mosey come out now in comparison to Harmon? Harmon coming down into turn 1 now. Let's see, where is Mosey? Mosey has got the long way around there, and he seems to be just in front. No, he's actually behind, and he has lost the effective lead due to a huge undercut that Harmon has got on him, and the Ferrari even flies past him. That's awful news for the Alfa Romeo driver, and that was maybe just that one lap too long on the soft tyres that has lost him the lead on lap 14 of this race. And Harmon, he will have very, very bad tyres at the end. Those will be in horrible conditions. But at the moment, he's got the track position. He's got a car in between him and the previous effective leader. So at the moment, it's all going to plan. And that undercut worked beautifully.
And look how much Mosey's been held up by the Ferrari. He's now got Wrench closing right up to him. So all his advantage is lost. Wrench had to fend off Smalley coming out of the pits as well. Obviously, Smalley performed the undercut too, but he just about kept a position. Josh has pitted. Bremer stays out though, so he's really taking the soft tyres a long way. Maybe he's thinking of the long game and having the pressure mediums later on, but he's the only one now who's stayed out as Architect does a new fastest lap.
Yeah, good lap from him. 109.5.
Oh, what's happening there? Wrench going super slow out of the exit of turn 2.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but there goes Bo and her 16 rod once again, side by side through that corner, and now it has gone wrong, and it's sent Bo nearly into the barrier. He's kept it out of the wall there. Good stuff from him, and there goes Zach now. Oh, and luckily that AlphaTauri goes, otherwise that would have been a nasty impact.
I don't know what's happened to Wrench, but he has lost a lot of time. He's going very slow. He had to let Smalley through, and then he let the Ferrari through as well. But he seems to be going back up to speed now. But Wrench has lost that position to Smalley and has lost a lot of time in doing so. So, not too sure there. But we could potentially have a battle for what is the technically the race lead right now in terms of how things will pan out. In that Mosey is just starting to close back up to Harmon again.
Tell you what, Smalley is actually a winner out of that whole situation as well. Look at him. He's effectively in P3 right now. He's jumped a few people, and he is in that fight for the lead right now. For the net lead, let's rather say. And he's got quite a solid gap to Wrench behind him. So it's all going well for the championship leader once again. Because those two guys ahead are the two guys fighting for the race victory, or the race lead, let's rather say, for now. And yeah, they'll come up to the three medium runners that have started on those tyres in a couple of laps time now, and that might play a factor as well.
I understand Bremer's potential strategy of going long on the softs, but you just see already how much he's lost out. He's behind Sick Boy, who wasn't really in that group of cars. He was in the group behind, so it really shows how much time Bremer's lost just by staying out a few extra laps in the Alpine. I feel like he may have left it a lap or two too late. I think we talked about Harmon doing the pit stop too early. I think Bremer may have gone a bit too much the other way.
Yeah, if you always have to consider that up ahead. There's Bo trying to make a move down the inside into turn 1. Wrench, in the meantime, got half a second quicker than the previous fastest lap. That was quite a good one there. And now Harmon is caught up to that two-car fight in between Bo and Zach. That will get heavier and heavier with each lap. There he goes, Bo, then down the inside of Zach in the McLaren, and he's got the inside line now, which will turn into the outside up the hill, and he has to back out of it once again. And after the spin, he rather decides to stay behind for now in that corner. He doesn't want a repetition of what happened a lap ago. But yeah, you can see Harmon is now getting held up a lot, and that might be the chance for Mosey, and maybe even more for Smalley, who's now sitting right behind them. But there goes Harmon. He's not making any friends today on the track in terms of the AlphaTauris. He's just gone down the inside of Bo, slightly pushed him wide. That cost Bo a couple of tenths probably. But won't be happy with that. He's got a penalty for exceeding track limits as well. Harmon now is obviously trying to find his way past those guys as quickly as possible. Will he dive it down the inside here? No, he won't. He stays behind, and there goes Bo straight on into turn 1. And now Mosey, look at Mosey. Mosey's very close to the rear end of Harmon, and so is Smalley to the Alfa Romeo. So that might be a big three-way fight now for the effective race lead, with Zach on the old mediums right ahead of them, and he probably doesn't want to take part in that fight all too much.
Well, I don't know how close the two McLaren drivers are, as we think we've got an issue with Appenbeck retiring at the back of the field. But I don't know how close Zach and Smalley are as teammates. But he could do his teammate a real favour here, because right now Smalley's in a good position. It could be made even better, depending if Zach can hold these guys up to the extent that Smalley could capitalise. So a bit of McLaren teamwork here, and Smalley could find himself potentially in the lead of this one.
Yeah, good position to be in now for Smalley. Obviously, if he is good friends with his teammate, and it might all work out, but it might just be over now on this lap for Zach at least. Yeah, should be an easy pass for Harmon then. Yeah, let's go aboard. Around the outside he goes on the straight, but look at Smalley. He's so close to the rear end of Mosey. He tries to go down the inside of the McLaren as well, and that lines him up beautifully for turn 4 then. The run up to turn 4 is quite long, and it should be long enough to get past. No, he weaves. He doesn't have any ERS left to play with. His battery is dead. But so is Mosey's actually. So those guys are using quite a lot of battery right now. And Harmon has got the most out of those three then. And now it's a lot of clear air ahead of those guys before they catch up to someone again. And Josh, in the meantime, has caught up quite nicely. And so has Wrench behind him. So that might lead into a big fight for the race victory here.
Yeah, Josh overtook Wrench actually shortly after Wrench posted that really good fastest lap, so didn't do much for him in that sense. Zach getting out of the way of Josh. I did think as well that Zach was a lot more eager to defend beforehand. Oh, huge move for Josh! Oh, Zach's gone round! Well, that was bizarre. Josh seemed to lose it on exit, and Zach...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but there goes Smalley then. And he is around the outside of Mosey, and he is past Mosey. Into turn 1, he takes effective P2 now, and he is on his way to fight for the victory now. Those guys will take the lead as soon as her 16 rod pits, and then this will be the fight for the race win.
There's something about Smalley in the races. He just seems to do something right with his strategy, or just have a bit more race pace than he does qualifying pace, but he always seems to find himself in the right place at the right time, and he seems to have done so again. I was just saying his teammate further down had a massive issue, and that's kind of ruined his strategy, unfortunately. But there was definitely some help going on between the two McLarens, because Zach jumped straight out of the way when Smalley was there at turn 1. And it's worked out really well for him, actually, and Josh and Wrench find themselves in this battle now as well, so it's all closed up again. But this is now effectively for the race lead, and I don't know, you almost wonder if Mosey should have potentially reacted straight away to Harmon because he had the advantage to do so. Instead now he finds himself back in his pack where he really shouldn't have been, considering how far he was ahead.
Yeah, now it's basically a 5-car battle for the race win. There goes Bramer then down the inside of Sick Boy, and he is up and on his way to join that train ahead. And now it's going to be Smalley attacking Harmon. Question is, when will he do that? He's not got a lot of battery left. Neither has Harmon, though. And neither has Mosey. So those guys are really draining their batteries at the moment to try and stay up there. And there's been a yellow flag. That's Luca, who has spun through turn 3, it looks like. Yep. And he was outside the points anyway, and he's now even further away from them on his 18-lap old hard tyres. Odd decision to go onto the hards, as everyone else decided to pick the mediums or softs, but I think he had to make a pit stop on lap 1. That's probably why he picked the hard tyres, and maybe tried to go for the Albon strategy from Australia. But I'm very curious to see if Smalley
Here
is
comes
actually...
Smalley.
Yeah, Smalley makes a move now, and that looked like a rather easy pass. Harmon really didn't defend that all too much. I think he was fine with Smalley getting past there. Maybe he just wants to restore some battery, you know, sit in the slipstream, or he just wants to re-attack now on this straight. Doesn't look like it. No, he stays behind. Okay. So, more of a tactical game now here as Kev has spun through the middle sector. Do you think that was a tactical decision in terms of, you know, battery charge, just to restore some battery and sitting in the slipstream, you know, getting dragged along?
Yeah, potentially. Oh, Luca has retired in the pit lane, I believe, so that won't bring out his safety car. Yeah, I mean, he definitely didn't fight it, and he didn't even try and retake the pass when potentially it might have been on, so maybe that's something he was thinking, but the problem he's got now is Smalley already looks like he's pulling away, so he may have made took a bit of a gamble here that might not pay off, and he's got to be wary of the cars behind him as well, but in terms of what's really interesting me here is that one of the drivers who had the most battery left, not so much now, but certainly before, as we've got her 16 rod in the pits now, so Smalley is now the effective race leader, is Bramer's caught up to this group on the fresher mediums and has a decent amount of VRS left. So I didn't think it at the time, but looking at it now, Bramer might be in a really strong position here if he can make the slightly newer mediums work to his advantage. He's not out of contention either, because you can see now he's right with this group.
Yeah, but you can also see that the DRS is really helping quite a lot to stay with the cars ahead. You know, Harmon was, I think, 7 or 8 tenths behind Smalley when he went out of the last corner and onto the start-finish straight. And with the help of DRS, he's now within 3 tenths. Oh, and that is very close. Probably a bit too close for comfort, but you can see he's restoring a lot of battery, so that actually might be a good tactic. And there's Smalley gone wide. I don't know if that was on purpose to get the DRS now to stay ahead, but I don't think Harmon will mind that all too much if he just loses 1 spot, but he might lose 2 as well now, as this might be a 4-way fight coming into turn 1. No, it's a 3-way fight. Mosey's around the outside of the Aston Martin. Can he make the move stick? No, he has to back out for now, and now there's the big train that has come even closer to each other. And you can see Mosey now once again in the slipstream with the help of DRS of Harmon. Harmon once again stays behind. He really wants that slipstream and DRS on the straights to save his battery, but that was definitely not planned from the Aston Martin driver, and that definitely drained a lot of his battery.
Yeah, absolutely. We've now got a 7th car joining this train of cars. We've got Sick Boy joining this group. Each of their time and big outlier here. And yeah, he's gonna struggle in concluding laps. I'm gonna go more to Smalley here just to see if he goes deliberately wide here to lose the DRS or anything like that, or if that was a potential purposeful move he made. He hasn't done it this time either way, so I don't know really if that was something he meant to do first time around, but it's meant he's kept the lead, so either a happy accident or a bit of tactics going on, but either way he's still got the lead, and it doesn't look like Harmon's in a position to fight back. No, he's not, so Smalley keeps the lead for now, and it's as you were between the top 7 with a slightly out of position Kev a lap down the Aston Martin. You can see Ghosted further back. Can her 16 rod pull that gap back to these guys on the soft tyres? I don't know, it looks like it might be a little bit too much to claw back, and he has a penalty to boot as well, but maybe the soft tyres could bring him up to this group as well.
Harmon does absolutely not want to pass that McLaren just yet. He wants that battery for the end of the race, and I think Smalley actually did that on purpose when he saw that Harmon didn't have that, or he didn't have that gap to Harmon.
Up the inside of Bramer.
Got a bit too close for comfort for those two.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised to see that move happen, to be honest with you, but nearly lost on the back end of that train. And again, let's see. Harmon's got a great slipstream here. He's right behind Small. He's going for it this time. He's not backing out anymore. He goes down the inside and takes the position into turn 1. But will he be able to keep it down the next DRS straight? That's going to be the problem. Smalley's now going to have that advantage DRS. And will he take the lead straight back again? Let's have a look. Down the straight he goes. Smalley pulls to the inside. But no, I think again, he didn't really want to make that move either.
Yeah, I think both have got a hang on it, of it now. In terms of battery saving, because Harmon was not using any, Smalley was not using any. I think everyone now wants to have control over their battery, to have enough at the end of the race to make that decisive move, maybe 2 laps before the end, 1 lap before the end, or whatever. Oh, and Smalley's made another mistake. I don't think that was on purpose, and he might lose the DRS now. Oh, he's just inside of it still. Will he drop out of the DRS? If Harmon has seen that, he might have used some battery now, but he hasn't. But that's quite a big gap in between Smalley and Harmon now. And remember,
yeah, that was
3
really
laps, 3 laps of difference in between those medium tires. So Harmon has now already got 16 laps on them, while Smalley only has 13. And Mosey only has got 12, and even Josh has only 11. So the drivers just get fresher and fresher the further you go down this grid. And Harmon's got a penalty!
Went too wide on the exit of turn 4, turn 5, and yeah, picked up a penalty. Must have been his final warning. Do you know what? I didn't even get a chance to do the commentator's curse. I was literally going to say, how rare is this? You got 7 cars in the DRS train for the lead, and there's no penalties involved. But didn't even get a chance to jinx it. So Harmon, unfortunately, has ruined my next sentence.
Well, at least it's not your fault this time. But yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. That will probably ruin his chances of fighting for that race win. And I'll tell you what, at the moment he would even drop down to 7th, as Sick Boy is within 2.7 seconds of him. And he even would drop back behind him. So that's quite a shame. But who knows, maybe he can pull those 3 seconds. I kind of doubt it, but who knows, maybe it'll happen. But I think that ruined his chances for a race win. But you can see no overtakes at all in that train. Nobody wants to pass each other, because they know if they can't make that move stick, they will lose at least 2 or 3 positions.
I say it's a very much a catch-22 situation. If you go for a move and you can't make it stick, the likelihood is it's not just you'll just fall back where you were. You'll probably end up losing a position or 2. So everyone's quite happy just staying where they are now. And I almost wonder if Smalley's mistake kind of made Harmon make a mistake.
Okay, Jake,
I just pushed the limits too hard.
I can't really hear you now because you're lagging quite a lot. So I'm just gonna take over until your connection is fixed. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, at the moment it's just that typical DRS train you've got. Nobody really passing each other. Everyone's just sitting behind in line. Nobody making all too many mistakes. Just tiny ones. But those tiny ones might actually cost you a position, or maybe even 2 or 3. But it looks like Josh is really close now to the rear end of Mosey. No, he's not. And yeah, it doesn't get any better for Harmon, really. He sits in P1, but with that 3-second tire penalty, he will drop down massively. Maybe even down into P8 if her 16 Rod catches up, or Architect, who didn't seem to be too slow, and his ERS deployment doesn't seem to be you know, that low either. His battery is not very full of charge, but Josh has got quite a lot of battery left. Renge has even got more battery left, so Renge could be someone to watch out for here. Maybe he could make a move here or there on some of the drivers, but obviously now with 7 laps to go when we cross the line now, he's more or less running out of time, because it takes probably a lap or 2 to overtake a car, if you can even make it stick. But that battery charge definitely does help, or he just waits for them to not have their battery charged in front of him. I don't know. It's more like a tactical game now at this point. But still very interesting, and I think it's going to come down to the wire as Bremer goes down the inside of Wrench, and he's actually got the position. Wrench can now use that battery charge he's saved up to defend himself, and he stays ahead for now. Does he? Yes, he does. And yeah, all that advantage that I just talked about in terms of battery charge is now fully gone and out of the window because Bremer tried to dive down the inside, but he couldn't make the move stick. Wrench keeps his spot, but doesn't keep his battery. Still quite a lot of battery left, so he is someone we should watch out for. Let's see, yeah, Smalley always uses a bit of battery at the start of the straight to pull away from that Alfa Romeo behind him. To not be under threat at all. And let's see, Wrench, maybe he now decides to go for it. He's having a little look down the inside. Josh slightly goes wide, slightly misses the apex, and that might sacrifice his exit out of turn 2 now, but I don't think Wrench is close enough. Is he? No, he's not using any battery deployment either, so he's gonna sit behind and wait for at least another lap.
Yeah, hopefully things are a little bit better on my end now.
Yeah, they are.
I'm hoping. Yeah, that's good. Just more internet issues, no issue there. Yeah, that's a really important move for Wrench because, like you say, with his extra deployment, he's now in a much stronger position. Smalley seems even less keen to fight Harman now he's got that penalty than he was before. So I think he knows he doesn't need. When you see a driver in front has a penalty, you see there's no real advantage to making a move. If it goes wrong, you potentially lose a place to someone who hasn't got a penalty. So Smalley's kind of in that situation now where he doesn't really want to take too many risks. I think we had Kev crash out in the middle sector, but looks like everything's fine, and looks like Raggy's struggling towards the back as well, which is a shame because he's fighting for a championship, of course. As Smalley takes the lead back.
Yeah, didn't even get a hang of it there, but. That, you know what, that actually might have been a very smart move now from him, because Mosey now has to make the move as well, more or less, or Harman just tries to get that move back. Oh, that was very close. I don't know which car moved a bit late there, but it just looked a bit dodgy in between those two. Everything went alright there, but still it looked very, very dangerous in between the McLaren and the Aston Martin there. Smalley, obviously, if he can now pull that gap in between him and Harman, that might give him a huge advantage over all the others, because he didn't have to pass Harman to be in the race lead at the moment, as Sick Boy attacks Bremer, who's out in that fight though for now. He didn't have to make that move, but it might have been a tactical decision here, because now they actually need to pass Harman and then Smalley. Let's see if Mosey can make a move on the Aston Martin. No, he can't. Let's see if Harman comes close enough. No, he has a little look on the inside, but he stays behind for now. Maybe out of turn 3 now. Down into turn 4. The run should be long enough for him to pass. Ah, bit too far back. Can't take the place back.
A bit more bad news for Harman as well, as he might come under attack here from her 16 Rod, who also has the same amount of penalties, but has made his way up to 7th now on the soft tyres and is making some really good ground up. So this 7-car train is now become an 8-car train, and watch out for that Mercedes, because on those tyres he'll be feeling pretty feisty and he'll be trying to make his way through.
It's all very interesting. Let's see if her 16 Rod even tries to go down the inside here, and you can see how close those cars are to each other. And it's such a huge trade. I mean, it's not even 3 seconds in between P1 and PA. This is going to be great action in those last couple of laps, as Harman loses another position against Mosey this time, and Mosey puts himself in a position where he can maybe even attack Smalley. Josh is trying to pass the Aston Martin as well, as they're going side by side along the main straight. Across the start-finish line they go, and into turn 1 they're going side by side into the braking zone. Inside line for the Williams, but he now has to back out for now. Let's see if Josh can maybe make a move on Harman. Wrench is too far away. Baz Bremer's fighting her 16 Rod in the background. Her 16 Rod's got the outside line on his fresher soft tyres. He's now got the outside line for turn 4 as well. He gets pushed off the track, but I don't think there was any room for him, and he wasn't really entitled to any room. He tries to have a look around the outside, but that's definitely not going to work. on 10 lap old softs, I think. But now he's going for the inside. That's a late lunge down the inside. And he's still, once again, obviously, with all those twisty corners. And yes, that had to happen at some point. He's off the track, and that fight is getting a bit, scruffy. Smalley has lost the place to Mosi. Might have been tactical. Oh my goodness, okay. It's really getting difficult to commentate over all of this right now, but there's a 3-car, a 4-car, 5-car fight for P4 right now. For P3, I should rather say. Ranger's taking P3 for now, and they're going 3 wide coming down into turn 1. Range takes P3 for now. There's Harmon going side by side with the Williams of Josh, who's got the position. It looks like Baz Raymond's trying to get into that fight once again, and Harmon is out.
Oh, huge accident. There must have been some contact there. I didn't quite catch it.
More contact into turn 4. Sorry. But there goes Sick Boy then down the inside, and her 16 watt has not gained a single place in that on his soft tyres. I think they're pretty much dead. But now we have a proper fight for P1 in this race with 1.5 laps to go and no penalties involved until P6.
Yeah, but there's a gap that's formed. You can see 1.5 second gap formed between Wrench and Josh for P3. So it's almost like they're split into 2 different groups now, as Bramer has had an off. Bramer's had an off through the middle part of the lap, and he's dropped down to 8th place now as well. So, again, don't know if it was contact related, but he's lost out, and her 16 rod nearly goes off the road coming out the final corner as well. So, in their attempts to make this work up front, it's getting a bit scruffy.
Oh, yeah, there goes Renston down the outside into turn 1, and he's made the move sick. He's past Smalley now. He's got a bit wide, though. He slightly missed the apex, and that sacrificed his run out of turn 3 now. Smalley's still very close. It's going to have the DRS. No DRS enabled for Reg. He's too far away from the leader, and there goes sneaking down the inside Smalley, then into turn 4. He's got the inside line. Can he make the move stick? Yes, he can. And great defending there by Smalley, who's still in P2 there. Mosi seems to cruising home to a race victory here that seemed very unlikely at some stages. But it looks like his strategy has worked out brilliantly. Smalley is trying to hold on for his life at the moment ahead of Wrench. But 2 tenths just in between them, and it's the last lap of the race. That is going to be a drag race up until the line, or maybe it's going to be a Verstappen-Leclerc fight for the DRS detection point, but Smalley knows that he's going to have to give up on that position if he doesn't get a good exit, and it seems like he has got a solid exit. Mosey's going to come across the line, win this race, and yes, he wins the race in Brazil. There goes Wrench. Is he close enough? He's alongside, but he can't get past, and it's 18 thousandths of a second. Her 16 rod dropped down to 8th now due to the penalties, but my goodness me, that was close in between Smalley and Wrench on that last lap. 18 thousandths in the end separated them, and Wrench only just missed out on P2 here.
Wow, what a dramatic conclusion to the race. I think something happened to Josh further down as well, because he's lost a few positions towards the end as well. The architect who wasn't actually that close, I would have said, up until the last few laps, managed to grab P5, but it was always going to be so close up to the run to the line. I don't know if Smalley made an error on the penultimate lap or something, because he was right behind Mosey, and then that gap opened up and it just became a battle for P2. So I say fair play to Mosey, pole position, race win, and it wasn't a simple lights to flag race win either. He had to fight his way through that group of cars again after he pitted, but excellent job from the Alfa Romeo driver, and if that straight had been a bit longer, it would have been a very different order between P2 and P3. It was so close.
Yeah, that was, but that was actually expected that it was going to come down to the wire on the last couple of laps then, because of all the tactical games that were involved in that fight up until that point. Yeah, Sick Boy in the end, great race as well from P11 to P4 then. But here is your provisional finishing order, with Mosey taking the race win, even though we thought he might have hung it out a bit too long on that first stint on the soft tyre, but he managed to pull it off in the end by passing Smalley and take in the race win here in Brazil. Smalley, then our championship leader, again scores very, very nicely in P2. Just 18 thousandths ahead of Wrench, who was so close to P2 in the end in that drag race up until the finish line. Just about missed it. And we've got Sick Boy in 4th, Architect in 5th, Josh then in 6th after he dropped down in that last couple of laps. Same happened to Bramer. I think he had a half spin or something. Her 16 rod was not able to make the reverse strategy work with his 3-second time penalty. He has dropped down to 8th. Zach, 6-second time penalty actually. Zach in the end collects P9. Very quiet race for him. And Ski One in the Ferrari takes the final point of the race, and fastest lap goes to Void Beam, who's just fitted a fresh set of softs, I think, at the end. At least he's made 2 pit stops. Yeah, quite an exciting race, and quite a good way to be back for commentary, not gonna lie. That was a lot of fun commentating this race.
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of fun this race. A bit wondering about Harman, of course, who crashed out towards the end. I wonder if those medium tyres had just cried enough, to be honest with you, because Smalley mentioned in the chat just now he had 80%, 85% tyre wear, and of course he pitted about 2 or 3 laps after Harman. So yeah, I think he just probably jumped the gun a bit too early, and you could see even before that crash he was just starting to lose positions. So he couldn't break away from the group, and then obviously the tyre wear started to kick in towards the end. So it was a good gamble. It was worth trying from Harman, but it ultimately didn't pay off. And a lot of credit to Mosey, because it would have been easy to lose his head after he lost the race lead after the pit stops, but he kept his head down, and I think he's a thoroughly deserving race winner.
Yeah, quite a lot of good battles as well on the track. Obviously, we had a few incidents here and there, but that's just, that has to happen at some point in the race. But all in all, it was some great racing that we've seen here today, and not gonna lie, it was great to be back commentating over this race. Obviously a bit difficult to keep up with everything there on the last lap. I think a lot happened behind the top 3 as well, but we had to take a look at the fight for P2 then. But yeah, brilliant race, and I had a lot of fun. I hope you had fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fantastic race, and good to have you back in the comms box alongside me, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this season. For anyone who wanted a bit more context for the Harman DNF, apparently there was some minor contact between him and Josh, and that was enough to send his car into the wall, sadly for him. But yeah, great to be back. Smalley, I believe, extends his championship lead with that, and he'll be looking to start to clinch it in the next couple of races. And next time out, for anyone who doesn't know, it will be at Mexico, which should also be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Mexico, actually one of my favorite tracks on the F1 games. Hopefully we'll have a lot of fighting going on there. I think it will be very tactical once again, obviously with the 2 very, very long straights. And, the battery management, which was crucial in the end then. We saw it from Wrench, who then made it work quite well. With a bit more of management, he might have even been able to fight for the race win if he just, tried to pass those guys ahead of him just 1 or 2 laps earlier. But maybe he can even work even better on that, but it looks like he has managed that quite well. But yeah, it was great fun tonight. I gotta say thank you for everyone for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and check out the other live streams that are either going on right now or happened at the same time as we were commentating over this race. We'll be back next week once again for F7 for round 11 in Mexico, then once again 7 p.m. UK time. Jake, anything to add to that?
No, just be sure to tune in. It should be a lot of fun, and yeah, just check out now where the top PS tier is going on. So I'm sure people will be tuned into that. And if anyone doesn't know as well, there'll be no PCF1 this week as well. I know a lot of people tune in for that, but yeah, that won't be happening this week. So due to the ongoing issues with the game, unfortunately, but hopefully that'll be back in the next few weeks if Codemasters or EA put out a patch.
Might have to wait a couple of months for that, but still. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But we'll be back for you guys next week when it's time for Mexico. And until then, goodbye and take care.